Over to Rob.
Thanks, Jane. Chair Conference, Rob Wotherspoon, Branch Secretary, Bristol and District, Amal, to move composite motion E1. And first off, in moving this motion, I would like to thank the Standing Orders Committee for recognising the importance of this issue in taking on the emergency motion and placing it at the top of the pad. And I'd also like to thank all of the compositing branches and the support we've had on this issue, including Newcastle, Amal and the whole of the South Wales South West Division. And the issue contained in this motion, I think, carries on very nicely from what Terry has said about us standing on the shoulders of giants, because ultimately it comes down to the simple issue of protecting our local representatives who do so much work for this union. And there seems to be an alarming increase in attacks, threats, disciplinaries against local representatives. Now, when the Agenda for Growth agreement was agreed, there was a sort of, seemed to be a mellowing in attitude from some of the managers. But as the business has been fully privatised and the harsh realities of the cost-cutting, profit-driven agenda has come to the fore, it seems that certain managers are reverting to type. Now, the other speakers will have the opportunity to talk about the reps who are under threat in their branches, so I won't cover that off now, but I would like to talk about the circumstances surrounding the disciplinary action against Dave Chapple, CWU rep at Bridgwater delivery office, who is said has been called to a possible dismissal interview. And many of you would know Dave Chapple from previous conferences. He's been a very long-standing rep, a former branch chair of Bristol branch, and now his job is under threat. And the reason it's under threat, purely and simply, is because he and other members at his delivery office were prepared to, as any of us would have done, take action to defend a member in that unit who was being treated disgracefully. Now, you will have a copy of the voice on your chairs this morning. Don't all go rushing to it now, but if afterwards you look at page number 5, you'll see a picture of a postman at Bridgwater called Andrew Mutu with the headline, "Loving my job, it's great to be back." Now, Andrew Mutu is a profoundly deaf member of the CWU and a massive supporter of our union. And in recent years, he's been suffering from multiple sclerosis. But he's still managed, despite that, to lead an active life and wanted nothing more than to work in his job as a postman at Bridgwater delivery office. But Royal Mail managers in the last few years were basically saying to him, I'm sure some of you will be familiar with this from your own offices, basically, there's no work for you, you can't be accommodated, you need to go off sick, and told him he couldn't come to work, and in fact it wasn't safe to work. And you know, for a man who wanted nothing more than to work in his unit with his colleagues, that was very hard for him to bear. And at a point, it got to the point where he went down to no pay whatsoever from Royal Mail. And it was at this point, and this isn't mentioned in the article, but it was at this point that his colleagues and his friends at Bridgwater walked out unofficially last November in a dispute that frankly could have been over in a tea break if it hadn't been for the stubbornness of particular Royal Mail managers who extended the dispute by threatening to suspend the CWU rep over this spontaneous walkout.
Abstention agreed. Thank you very much. Carry on, Rob.
Now, thank you, Conference. Now, Royal Mail must have been doing something wrong because, as it said, Andrew Musa has now been back at work since February. So that accepts that they must have been doing something wrong because, in fact, he is quite capable of work and he is back at work and happy to be back at work. So how did Royal Mail respond to this failure to accommodate a disabled worker? Did they discipline the managers? No, of course not. They decided to pursue disciplinary action against the local representatives, Dave Chapple and the Deputy Rep, Darren Granter. Now, all charges have been dropped against Darren Granter, but charges with the threat of dismissal for gross misconduct remain against Dave Chapple for what colleagues in Bridgwater have made clear was the spontaneous response to the disgraceful treatment of a member of staff at that unit. And I think what we've got here is a clear case of a Royal Mail manager bearing a grudge against the rep in that unit. Now, I've come to many conferences in the past and people have praised up the work of our local representatives. Terry, again, this morning has said we've got the best workplace structure, and I absolutely believe that's right. They are the backbone of our union, and we would not be the strong workplace union that we are without them. And I think it's on all of us to say that there's a contract with those reps that when they stick their neck out to stand up for all of our members and to support our union, we will absolutely defend them if the employer targets or attacks them, and never more so than when they're doing the right thing. We've had a long history of reps being threatened and targeted with conduct in our branch, as I'm sure many other branches have as well. In the Bristol 3, Chris Brewer, Ted Coles, Julian Priddy, Dave Wilshire several times, and we've always defended our reps. And Dave Chapple will be no different, which is why we have requested and had granted a branch ballot should Dave Chapple be dismissed. So the message is quite clear. If you come for our reps in Bristol, we're ready for you. So I hope, Conference, you'll join me unanimously in saying that we're not about to let our reps be attacked in the course of their duties, not in Bristol, not in Newcastle, not in Wales, not in Scotland. Over this line, you will not cross. Conference, please support.
Seconder.